Okay, we are here. We are live. I'm super excited. This is Jasmine Sandler. I am your producer and host of Wonder Woman in Business. And before I get started today with today's amazing guest, I'm super excited. I want to just give those of you who may be fans of Princess Lockerooo and don't know anything about Wonder Woman in Business, a little bit of background about the podcast and the reason for this, what I call Wonder Woman in Business movement. So my name is Jasmine Sandler. I've been doing branding and social media forever. And in the last 10 years or so, I've seen a real movement and a need for female entrepreneurs to have the keys, the tools, the know-how, the resources from those who have been there and done it to be able to build themselves up. And that's my own mission. So what I do is I reach out to awesome women that I call Wonder Women. And I will get into it, but I'm a little bit of an artist myself. So I really enjoy talking to other creative professionals. So with that being said, I would like to welcome today's guest. We are on episode number 13, which I think is a lucky number for Wonder Woman in Business. Welcome to the show, Princess Lockerooo.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Jasmine.
Yeah, I'm excited today. This is going to be great. So before we get started, I just want to give a little bit of a background. Again, I try to give everybody's bios, but all my ladies are superstars. So please expand on it if I miss anything, which I probably will. But so Princess Lockerooo is a multifaceted performance artist in dance, and you also have a background in musical theater, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So she does choreography and artistic direction and music production for stage and film, costume and makeup design, all the things that I am terrible at. So I'm super excited to pick your brain today. She's been an advocate of bringing the popular and expressive 1970s disco, which I personally think is the best form of dance, in my own personal opinion. This style called whacking, which I never knew the term, back into the spotlight. So she's a student of the legendary Soul Train dancer, Tyrone Proctor. For all those of you that know Soul Train, which actually I do, my mom used to watch it. And she's a whacking specialist and emphasizes on the freestyle element of the dance, which encourages the development of the individual dancer, which is something I want to get into today. And she really embodies that through everything that she does. She has an amazing brand. She teaches at Broadway Dance, where I take vocals, so we're going to talk about that today. And other schools as well. So, I know there's a lot here. And also she was it season 8 of So You Think You Can Dance?
Yes.
It's amazing. So tell me what I missed, anything you want to add to that?
Well, whacking has become, my medium of expression. And this dance really was a journey of self-discovery for me as an artist and as a woman. I'm an educator, an activist, and an event producer. And it's all kind of surrounding whacking. So I teach self-empowerment around the world through whacking. And I also produce whacking dance events, international dance events that raise funds for LGBTQ organizations like Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, Dancers Responding to AIDS, LGBTQ Center. Whacking is actually a gay dance style that originated in the gay clubs of 1970s California.
Wow, that's why I've never heard of it. That's amazing. So I have my first huge question for you is about your name.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, if those of you don't know, you should know because I've been blasting it every single day. Wonder Woman in Business is having our inaugural New York City event. It's called the Art of Entrepreneurship. And it's a panel discussion, and Princess Lockerooo is one of our panelists, talking about the convergence and commonalities between being a creative professional and artist and being an entrepreneur. So I know we're getting ready for that. But as a prep, people have been asking me, like, who is she? What is she about? And what is the name about? So can you talk about that a little bit?
So, all dancers, we have these really cool dance names that become somewhat of our alter ego, or as I like to call, our superhero. So Princess Lockerooo is everything that I already am and everything that I believe in, magnified, multiplied, and exaggerated. She's fearless, strong, absolutely fabulous. And, in my mind, she's half superhero, half Hollywood starlet, with just a dash of badass New Yorker. And she represents power and elegance. And the name was, Lockerooo was given to me by one of my first dance teachers. And I entered my very first dance battle maybe it was 2006, as Princess Lockerooo, and the rest is history.
Wow, that is really cool. So did she have a reason for that name, or she just kind of came up
So
with
my
it?
dance teacher Specs, he was one of my first dance teachers, and actually locking was one of the first styles that I started doing. So I started off as a locker, so that's why Lockeroo. And
Oh,
yeah. But then I've dabbled in many different styles, but whacking kind of took over. But it was too late to change my name. You know, you can't, rebranding is difficult.
well, I know I do it for a living. I hear you.
Yeah.
And it's cool because it has a history, and I think
Yeah.
it's interesting, because I didn't know how it was related, but it's all dance related, and that's pretty interesting. And also,
Yes.
your evolution of your brand. So I know I'm taking your class next Thursday, Broadway Dance, and I can't wait. I'll be in the back because I'm uncoordinated. But anyway, but for those that are unfamiliar with the dance style, can you kind of define, like, give us a visual? You don't have to stand
Right.
up,
Right.
but a visual of what is whacking? How is it different than traditional disco dance?
Got it. Well, as I said, whacking was birthed in gay clubs, and it was inspired by movie stars like Greta Garbo, Marilyn Monroe, Marlene Dietrich. And you think about the way these women pose, the elegance, and what whacking really did was it united the elegance of disco, the opulence of Hollywood, and the flamboyance of the gay community. And in the 70s, homosexuality was frowned upon. Gay people would be harassed or mistreated or judged for just being themselves. So the dance and these clubs created an outlet and a platform for these men to be themselves, to accept themselves, to feel empowered. So really, that's what the dance is about. It's about being yourself and not trying to look like anybody else. And so 20 years later, this dance has come back into the spotlight, and it's doing the same exact thing for disempowered individuals. And it really helped me embrace every aspect of who I am. So physically, there's a lot of really cool arm movements. The word whack came into fruition as a way to describe the dance because you're whacking your arm.
Oh, okay.
But there's many, but it's what it is it's becoming a conduit of the music, because disco, is very dynamic. Disco, 70s disco was recorded with live orchestras, and the music is very influenced by classical music. So
Absolutely.
So there's so many layers, and what you want to do is make all of the layers in that music visual. Another big influence, or another way to describe it visually, is like a drag queen. Drag queens always perform in the gay clubs before, the DJ hops on. So drag was very influential to the dance as well. When you see a really good drag queen perform, their lip sync is on point. It's perfect, timing wise, right? And then they're also performing, exaggerating, because they're not really singing. So they take it to a whole other level of performance. Mm-hmm. Now imagine a drag queen that cannot lip sync, and they have to use their body and their hands and their face in order to express and give the same performance to the music. That's whacking.
I love it. I'm always, as an entrepreneur, let's shift to that for a second, right? As an entrepreneur, there's days that you are down. It's a hard, long road, no matter what anybody says. This is my 5th business in so, right. I think that dance is very uplifting. And I think a lot of people turn to, obviously I'm a singer and songwriter, but people really turn to dance. I've seen it more and more, to be able to lift their spirits and express themselves. And I love that, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, right? So I love that you said that what you're doing is helping to empower women and empower people in these communities. So can you talk a little bit about how you've seen dance help people, and maybe give us an example?
Right. Well, I've traveled to over 27 countries around the world teaching this dance, and whacking has become extremely popular in Asia and in communities where being gay is not accepted, and also where women are not encouraged to express themselves physically or verbally in an empowered way. And the transformation is really, really amazing. And I think, the science behind it is muscle memory. As human beings and as dancers, of course, we rely on muscle memory. And so in order to do the dance, you have to be confident. You have to embody power. And that's part of what I teach. So the repetition of, embodying this confidence and being a diva, that feeling will eventually live inside your body and then translate to all other aspects of your life. And I know personally, because before I started this dance, I was not the person you see today. I had very low self-esteem. I was depressed. I didn't feel good about myself. And creating Princess Lockerooo really changed all of that, and it is hard. I mean, Samara sometimes has bad days, but Princess Lockerooo is always there. She's fearless. Nothing can stop her. So all you have to do is just step into your superhero and you'll be fine. But I think also this dance is allowing women and men to embrace and explore their sensuality without objectification. You know what I'm saying? Because we want to be able to explore that feeling and be beautiful and fabulous and sexy, but without it having to be just, about shaking your ass and that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's an amazing description. I mean, I took a dance class last night because I don't want to look like an idiot next week when I train in your class. But anyway, so what I found is that exactly what you're talking about. It takes, so as an entrepreneur, right, you're in your head a lot, right? So I think that body-mind connection is just so important. Like you said, there are days when people feel down, and in the world that we're in and that we're going, everything is very public. Like and so, you got to feel good about yourself. And I think that also gives you a little bit of ground because you're connecting with your body, you're connecting with yourself. It's very, very empowering. So I love what you're doing. I think it's great. So what compelled you? Like I always ask my Wonder Woman guests, because everybody's different, right? So when you were a little girl, like what compelled you when you were young? What kind of characteristics or attributes can you think about when you were a kid that have helped you to get where you are today? Anything you can point to?
Well, I mean, since I can remember, I came out of the womb wanting to be an entertainer. I was always a performer. And I think, my mom is the kind of mom that just applauded everything that I did and everything that I said. And, I was a very precocious little girl. So even if I said things that were completely inappropriate, I would be getting applause. It was like I was constantly on stage all the time. And I was a funny kid. And so I think that it was like the earliest thing is just making my mom laugh or getting a reaction from her and feeling like, that was the first taste of what it's like to be in front of an audience.
It's true.
And she's a very generous audience member. So I think that inspired me. Also, I grew up watching Rodgers and Hammerstein. My mom is a big fan of musicals, and she took me to see Broadway shows when I was very young, and Cirque du Soleil. I mean, seeing Cirque du Soleil when I was about 8 years old and seeing Cats when I was maybe 7. I remember them coming in both shows. The performers came through the audience, and it was just magical. I mean, and I remember one of the singers in Cirque du Soleil walked right by me. She looked right at me, and I could smell the perfume. And I will never forget that moment. It was just like I just had to. I had to be one of them.
I know you're.
Yeah. And then when I discovered dance as an adult, I mean, I started dancing when I was 19. Okay. It was the talent and the passion of my peers. And also, as a young adult, you get introduced to what it's like to be an adult going to clubs. And my first club experiences were, standing online for an hour, a bunch of girls in tight dresses, trying to be cute outside. I mean, getting drinks, getting felt up, on by random people in the club. That's what I thought clubbing was. But when I discovered the underground dance scene, it was a whole other world. I just saw talent and passion. There was a purpose for being there. It was about the music. It was about artistry. And I fell in love with the dance community and the gay community. So I feel like all of that is what made me want to be an entrepreneur in this field.
Well, 2 questions off of that. I love it. You just made me think back to a couple of times in my life. So I went to grad school in University of Miami, and this is when I started surfing a million years ago. So I was always at the beach after class. And there were these guys that used to break dance. you know, like right where we used to serve. And I remember just like marveling at them and thinking like, and like really enjoying watching the performance and thinking like dancing is so freeing. And so I wonder, a question on that is, you know, there's a lot of stigmatism on aging, right? Now, yeah. So I'm wondering about dance, you know, because I go to Broadway dance for vocals and I see a lot of young girls, which makes sense. But for the, you know, I have a lot of older women in my audience. Can you talk about if an older woman wants to get into dancing, like what is that all about? Have you seen older women in your class? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, you know, there's so many different industries and outlets for dance. And one of the things about the community that I tapped into globally is that there are all ages of people dancing. Actually, there was like a little mini documentary about these elderly people doing hip hop in Japan. And actually, every time I go to Japan, I see this group of women who are like the older generation hip hop crew, and they are so cool. They like pick me up from the airport, take me to the hotel. They're at the dance events, like they're involved. Like I feel like it's just about finding the right community, because some communities and some classes will be discouraging, you know, let's face it. And there are people out there that will try to age you and try to tell you there's no point or you can't do it. And, you know, this is actually one of the things I wanted to say about being an entrepreneur. You have to cut all of that negativity out, because this is hard enough as it is.
Agreed.
Anybody in your field of contact, of vision, of social media that is giving you that kind of vibe or telling you that you're not enough or that you can't or that you shouldn't, you just have to chop them, because it's that bad energy will slow you down and stop you. And nobody knows what you're capable of. You know what I mean? There's no reason why you can't do it because it makes you feel happy. And I think that's where it starts. If dancing makes you feel happy, do it. There's no reason why you shouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So talking about entrepreneurism a little bit, can you talk about, because your craft is a little bit different than, you know, the majority of my clients and who I am and my audience. So talk about what it's like to be an entrepreneur as a dancer. What does that look like on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I feel like in order to be an entrepreneur in dance, you have to have so many skills outside of dance. You have to have a really clear sense of what you represent. You have to have signature style as an artist. And most importantly, you have to have something to say. You know, I think that, I mean, for me, I've always had the entrepreneurial bug, meaning I've always wanted to do my own thing. I've always had a vision and wanted to create something and build it. I mean, even when I was in the 5th grade, I wrote a musical and held auditions in my class. Then when I was 16, I went on to teaching at the 92nd Street Y summer camp, and I was the drama teacher, and I had the job of producing a show with the kids. And so I put on that musical that I wrote in the 5th grade, and I recorded the music, and I made the costume. My first teaching job as a dance teacher was at an after-school program. I took the kids to Amateur Night at the Apollo. I trained them good. Took them to Amateur Night at the Apollo. They won. They got on the show.
Oh my God.
They were invited back. And this is when I was really young and I was still broke. So I didn't have any money. I spent all the money that I had out of my own pocket buying tickets to Showtime at the Apollo the day that they were performing. And I went around to all the dance studios in New York and gave away those tickets, hoping that somebody would come and then hire me. And that's how I got my first job teaching at Perry Dance, because somebody from Perry Dance actually came. So I'm sharing those stories because I love it. It's about going the extra mile, you know what I mean? And investing in yourself. And then, you know, as an artist, I think it's really about when it comes to building your brand, you have to know what you're doing, and it takes time. Like, you know, the first time I auditioned for So You Think You Can Dance, I got chopped. I threw together a costume. I just chose a random song. I decided at the last minute, you know, I was having wardrobe malfunctions. Of course they chopped me. But when it happened, I was like, how could they not, you know, accept me, train me? I won battles. I thought I was all of this and that. And then I went back into the lab and I started working a lot harder on developing the character that I was playing, the costume, the storyline, the music. And, you know, and then after getting on the show, that became my signature. I could never do another performance without it having a strong sense of character, a storyline, and having the music, you know, fit whatever the theme was, you know? So that became like how I built and developed my brand. So even if I'm just doing a judge solo for a battle, you won't ever catch me jumping around to a random song wearing sweatpants. I go all out because that also makes my work presentable on stage, and it also makes me bookable as a solo dancer. So every time, even if I have to just go somewhere to some random country and it's a small event and it's, you know, not a lot of people will be there, if I'm going to do a judge solo, I'll create an act that I can get hired for. You know what I'm saying? And if there's no costume storyline, you will not get booked. And another thing, this is a little harsh, but this is how I feel. You know, if you're an artist and you're performing, or you're dancing and you're performing, and at the end of the day, people can't remember your name and they're not running up to you to take a picture with you, you have failed as an artist. You have to be unforgettable. So, yeah.
No, you said so many things that are so important, both as an artist and as an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Right. I mean, a couple things, you know, the unforgettable piece is really important. And that's in the branding work that I do. It's first about defining that brand, and you have to own it. And you definitely own your brand. And also being unforgettable as a songwriter and a singer. If somebody listens to my song and they don't remember the hook, yeah, I rewrite it. It doesn't ever happen. I love my music. But my point, no, I'm serious. My point is, yes, you can translate that into dance. You can translate that into being owning an IT business. It doesn't really matter. You have to be unforgettable. And I love what you said about showing up in the right way every single time, no matter how you're feeling, no matter what's going on, no matter what. And as a performer, I mean, from music, I know even if you're feeling terrible, you still have to present in a way that no one knows. And I think that you're right. It's can be doubly as difficult because you have your performer and you also have to be an entrepreneur. So all those points make sense for anyone that's listening, actually.
Yes. So, but, you know, I also wanted to add to that because, you know, I didn't go to school for business or marketing or anything. And I literally just wanted to dance. So I put in my 10,000 hours, you know, in developing our artistry. And the thing is, I never wanted to work a 9 to 5, never wanted to sit down at a computer. But what happened was you know, and I didn't know how to build a website. I didn't know what a sponsorship deck was. I didn't know how to write a proper email, but I wanted to produce dance events. And so I had to go back and learn how to do all of these other things that I initially had no interest in doing, just in order to, you know, support this brand that I had built and to further my career and to use my platform to inspire change. So just to give you everybody out there an idea, so some of the skills outside of dance that I had to acquire was being a publicist, a graphic designer, a video editor, a website designer, a grant writer, a fundraiser, a treasurer, a stage manager, a director, social media. I had to be a writer, a booking manager, a costume designer, a makeup artist, a music producer, like everything, because it's not like I had a ton of money and could just pay people to do these things. I had to, in order to support what I wanted to do as an artist, I had to learn how to do these things. So I ended up sitting at a desk for hours, staring at a computer. But it was more meaningful because it was driven by my purpose as an artist.
Correct. So. Yeah, no, and I love that. And as an entrepreneur, whether you're, because I do a whole course for artists and entrepreneurs, whether you're an artist or you're not, if you have to, when you start off, you have to have that laundry list of to-dos. And eventually your goal is, right, that you want to focus on your craft more and that you can hire people or outsource those things, right? Mm-hmm. But initially you do, and it doesn't actually hurt to do it because you start to understand it better. So then when you do eventually have enough money to hire somebody or hire a team, you can know what you're looking for. And in my world, that's important because I hate working with clients that have no idea what they want, but they want everything. It doesn't work for anybody, you know what I mean? So it's good that you go through that, what I call maturation process in marketing. So my next question, and I'm sure this is going to be a big answer because I know I have a big answer when people ask me this, but who do you admire most as an artist? And it could be a singer or dancer, and why?
Wow. So if I'm going to narrow, it's hard to narrow it down to one because there's just so many.
All right, give us a couple female artists.
So, well, the first, so as an artist, I mean, Jody Watley is one of the most incredible singers and artists. She also, you know, is a mentor of mine. I've toured with her, and she also learned whacking from Tyrone Proctor because she was on Soul Train with him. And she is still making music. She is still putting out songs. She just does not stop. And I think she's an absolute Wonder Woman, and she's an icon. But, you know, more personally and closely to me, one of the biggest influences have been drag queens. And I'm also a bio queen, which means that I am a female drag queen. So I get up.
Oh, very cool.
And I used to go to see Bob the drag queen, who is the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race. I used to go and see her show all the time. And she, I mean, it was like watching a Broadway show. She taught me how to perform, really. I owe so much to watching her show. And what was fascinating was, you know, I would bring everybody to her show. I even brought straight friends to come and see her show, who would never want to be in a gay club, you know. But then after seeing her show, whatever bias they might have had or fear about being in that environment was just gone, because all this, they didn't see gender anymore. They saw art. And I think that is extremely powerful as an artist. And so Bob the drag queen and Pangina Heels. Pangina Heels is actually a student of mine, and is now the RuPaul of Thailand. She is the host of RuPaul's Drag Race Thailand, and she went on to, you know, coaching, Miss Universe pageant contestants how to walk down a runway, doing high fashion shows.
I love it.
Because of what she put into her art. But it started with whacking and just performing as a drag queen, but seeing what you can do with your artistry, seeing where these artists have taken their craft and watching them do it from the ground up, it's just fascinating.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, and you touched on something that I think is kind of important. I don't know if you meant to, but the cross between fashion, dance, performance, and having a collaborative network of peers and contemporaries, right? Can you talk a little bit about how that's helped you build your career? Just talk about that a little bit, because we all have our own stories.
Yeah, well, you know, there's so many different types of scenes and communities that you could get involved in, you know, as an artist. And I feel like being part of many different communities is what has helped contribute to myself as an artist and as an entrepreneur. There are so many dancers and teachers and my peers, the people who I go to clubs with, the people who I judge competitions with, the people who are dancing and I'm judging and watching them. They inspire me to stay on top of everything that I'm doing as an artist. You know what I mean? They keep me on my toes.
Yeah, accountable.
Like, oh my God, you know, you see something so amazing and you're like, oh man, I gotta go practice. It's like, I do that all the time. And so I'm constantly inspired just personally. And then, you know, but also stepping outside of your scene and of your comfort zone and like hanging out with other entrepreneurs or people who work in totally different industries and fields, you can learn so much from those people. So it's really good to just step outside of your comfort zone as well.
Yeah, I love it. In my world, I talk about building the social ecosystem of where you want to be, not where you are. Because I find that somebody asked me on some interview I was on, you know, if I spend my time, you know, solely with female small business owners and female entrepreneurs. And I said, no. I said, I'm in multiple communities and multiple pockets. I'm hoping to help and support my peers. However, it's really about looking at women or even men that have been there, done that, and getting involved in those communities. Because like you said, you can always learn. I personally learn more in a conversation than sitting down and reading a 500-page book, you know? Not like it's bad, but I think that's really important for people to understand and to get out there and try. And I like how you're talking about not being afraid of things, because that's what holds us back, as well as I like that you talk about the negativity and getting rid of it, you said, right? And important to identify when something is negative as well. So that being said, you know, we've all had our ups and downs. Can you illustrate a time where you know, didn't do so well and how you climbed out of it?
Well, business-wise or personal?
Business, yeah.
In business? Well, it's funny. So when I got on So You Think You Can Dance and the show aired, I was not thinking with an entrepreneurial mindset whatsoever, because at the same time, I just began touring internationally and I was in my early 20s and I was so excited. And I was like, finally, I'm getting to see the world and teach whacking around the world. I didn't have a website. I wasn't keen on using social media. So all of the hundreds of thousands of people that tried to connect with me on Facebook when the show aired, I just completely ignored their messages. All of those people into capital. If I had, I mean, I went on with the Spy Act, you know what I mean? Which was
of course.
I could have sold briefcases and spy glasses on my website. I could have done some merchandising.
Of course.
T-shirts with Princess Lockerooo. I was not thinking about that at all. And I also, you know, but I didn't know. I had never put it, that was before I sat down at a computer and tried to learn something other than dance. So, you know, I mean, I still ended up, you know, everything happens for a reason, I guess. I don't know. I ended up touching people's lives, you know, during that time around the world. But had I had somebody to guide me through that, who knew a little bit more about business at that time, then I probably would have ended up, I don't know, maybe with a little bit more capital or just a bigger following or a deeper connection to my fans that I don't know.
Right. Well, there's a couple of things there. Yes, you had impact. And I think personally, I think that's better than anything anybody could do, is have positive impact on someone else. But secondly, you matured and you took action. And I think oh my God, so many bands, and I do a lot of music, and artists and music, and artists that don't take action after they've made a mistake is what keeps them stuck. So I love that you talked about that. That's so important for everyone listening. If you identify that you're stuck somewhere, you have to identify it, address it, and take action. That's so important. Otherwise, you're not going to grow, right? Sorry, what were you going to say?
And, you know, and the other thing that, I mean, another low point is a mistake that I made multiple times. And this has to do with mentors and people that, you know, teachers or managers, people that, you know, promise you the world and say that they're going to change your life and they're going to do all this, but then they own you. I mean, I literally had dance teachers who taught me so much about dance, but in the beginning of my dance life said, well, you know, if anybody wants to work with you, just send them to me. And my 20-year-old self was like, okay, yeah, I have a dance teacher and I'm part of a crew, and, you know, but I didn't really look at that person's background. Has that person worked in the industry?
Absolutely.
Ever? Has that person managed other artists? What is that person doing? How is that person making money? How is that person, like, these are important questions. And anybody who tells you that you don't have that you shouldn't find out those details when you're working with somebody, you know what I mean? You have a right to know. So that happened multiple times where, you know, I became friends with people and we had this sense of camaraderie or community, and it cross-pollinated into the way that I was handling myself as an artist business-wise. So, you know, I got stuck a couple of times, and you know, I ended up wasting a lot of good time. Here's the thing, you know, nobody should own you. You know what I'm saying? Even, you know,
this is the Wonder Woman in Business show.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about. That's
what
it's all about. No one should, this show is about being your best self that you can be and owning your value as a person. So that no one can own you. And I love what you said, because I think being an artist is similar to being a smart business owner, because in my, you know, I've had many businesses and we always do due diligence. This is what investors do, right? So why would you not do the same exact thing when you're going to work with a potential manager or a potential venue or a potential promoter or whatever? So yeah, you know, so yeah, I think you need that checklist, right? And you also need to have that, like, that own sense of what is right and what is wrong, right? When you're making these decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, but and in the dance community, honestly, a lot, we don't really talk about these things enough. There's one thing and I'm really glad that we're doing this this interview, because I think a lot of people will tune in and we'll finally get to talk about these things or hear these things, because there's a sense of loyalty that comes with having a teacher. Then it's like, oh, even in some countries, in some places, if you go to one studio, then it's like a crime to go to another dance studio just because you belong to that place, even if they're bringing a special artist. So I've gone to countries and students wouldn't come take my class because I wasn't going to teach at their studio where they go to take class. I mean, this is just, BS. You go wherever it is that you need to go to better yourself as an artist, because the truth is that these people, they're not going to matter in the long run. You know what I mean? They
take care of yourself first, right?
Yes, you have to put yourself first, and there's nothing wrong with doing that.
No, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Believe me, I'm in band 4 and I'm the manager. I'm so happy because it's a growth process. Mm-hmm. And it's about what's right for me in this situation. That's everyone. You got to think about what's right for me. What's my brand? What do I believe in? So with that being said, how would you define a Wonder Woman in business? What does that mean to you?
A Wonder Woman, a woman who just never stops, no matter what.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's why behind me, she's flying, right?
Yes.
Always moving forward.
Yeah. And if you get knocked down, get back up.
Yeah, it's like synonymous to being an entrepreneur. You got to keep going. I love what you said at the beginning of the show, though. You talked about your brand and how you can step outside of Samara or Jasmine and jump into your Wonder Woman. And it puts that armor around you. That's very cool. I really like that vision, and I hope that people really take from that. So let's talk about a couple of things that you hold dear to your heart in terms of your values. Can you talk about what your own, just a couple of things that you really believe in that you wouldn't change for anybody? Some of your values.
Honesty, of course, loyalty. The thing when it comes to doing business or any personal relationship, honesty is so important. Because the thing is, if you're working with somebody who isn't being honest, or if you're not being honest with somebody, you are not giving that person the opportunity to make life choices based on the truth. They will make decisions based on what they believe is true, and that is wrong. So honesty was really important to me. As far as gender equality is one of the biggest issues for me. All genders, whether you're trans, whether you're whatever, there's so many different genders on the spectrum. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not, there's not 7 or 8. So just being treated as equal and being seen as equal and being given the same opportunity and the same platform. And also, because I really give so much credit to the gay community for birthing me as an artist. Like, I would not be fierce and fabulous if it were not for all the gay men in my life who have inspired me. So giving credit where credit is due is really important to me. Paying homage and giving back. The Soul Train dancers, they set the platform for all of my generation to be able to do what we do. Jumping around to different countries, touring and teaching. These dance styles wouldn't have reached that far if it hadn't been for what they did on Soul Train. And the Soul Train dancers were not paid. They were given chicken and Coca-Cola. Yeah, they were not paid. And so what you really have to think about, who came before you and opened up the path.
I love it.
And then another thing that I'm really passionate about is veganism. So I've been vegan for about 15 years, and I just feel like, it changed my body. It changed my life mentally. It made me feel better and calmer and more peaceful, so I feel like, and also a lot of dance events are, sometimes they're sponsored by, sports drinks that are poisonous, that will kill you. Meanwhile, these fancy yoga retreats and, they'll be sponsored by, coconut water and all of these healthy snacks. And, you know, I feel like that part of that is systematic racism. You know what I'm saying? Like food inequality is systematic racism. And I feel like dancers are athletes, and we should be eating the type of food that is going to enhance our performance and make our body stronger. So I felt a difference from when I was not vegan to when I became vegan. And I feel like it's helped me stay younger.
Yeah.
And I just want to share that with the world, and also and with my peers. So at my event that I produce every year, I produce an international dance whacking festival at the House of Yes, and we
where is that?
It's at the House of Yes. It's in Bushwick. It's one of
in Brooklyn.
Yes, House of Yes is fabulous. Cool. They're like the new Studio 54 with a twist of Cirque du Soleil. They're like amazing. It's incredible. It's really an amazing space. So yeah, and it's a vegan event. So what we do is we give free vegan food to everyone, and we also donate money to Broadway Cares or dancers responding to AIDS. Amazing. And also we worked with Callan Lord this year, which is a gay health organization, and they provide testing and information about health. Oh. So I think all of that is really really important to me. Health, quality.
Wow, so much there. I think that you must be a very disciplined person personally to be able to stay vegan. I mean, and that in itself, you have to make the right choices every single day, and no matter where you are. And you mentioned that you travel quite a bit, so that has a lot to do with discipline. And I think that's a underlining critical characteristic of being a good entrepreneur. That's critical. So, you know, what I get out of what you said is holding to those values has helped you to succeed. And it's about being disciplined and supporting those. So good for you. So, well, I'm definitely going to come to your event in Bushwick. So it's down the street. Talking, of course. So talking about your events, besides tomorrow, which, listen, everybody needs to come to this tomorrow. We only have like 2 tickets left, but hopefully people will be coming. So besides our event tomorrow, can you let the audience know a little bit about how they could take a class with you and how often you do that?
So I teach classes at Broadway Dance Center, Perry Dance, and EXPG. So my schedule is Tuesdays at EXPG at 4:30, Tuesdays at Perry Dance at 7:30, and Thursdays at 4:30 at the Broadway Dance Center. So you can come take a class with me. If you can't make it to any one of those classes, I've created an online training program. It's called wackingclass.com, WAACKING class.com. Go to wackingclass.com. Right now we have 3 volumes available. Each volume is between 45 minutes and an hour long. We start with basic, beginner, and then intermediate. So you can learn how to whack at home. And then you can come and take class with me, and you'll already be fierce and fabulous and ready for a challenge.
I love it. I love it. Well, I love it. So 3 dance centers, right? And they're all in Manhattan, correct?
They're all in Manhattan. Yes. Okay,
great. Or you can take her online course. And I have a library of online courses. I might have to put your course next to my branding course for artists because I think they need it. I love it.
Yes. That would be wonderful.
So we've covered a lot, honestly. You're very easy to talk to. So any other bits of kind of tactical advice for entrepreneurs or artists that are entrepreneurs? Any other bits of advice you'd like to leave?
Well, be prepared. You know, be prepared for what it is that you want to do, which means you have to do your research. Because as we said before, rebranding can be really difficult. So be sure of your brand before you put it out there. Learn many different skills and find amazing people to collaborate that share the same values of you. As you. You know, one of the other things, and I still struggle with this is a hard one, but learn how to delegate.
That's the most important thing.
Yes, I think it really is the most important thing. I've learned that producing events every year. I'm like, okay, I need somebody else to do this. I cannot do all of this. So learning how to delegate, and then, you know, being kind to yourself. doing whatever it is that you need to do to feel empowered. Because when you step into that superhero or step into your Wonder Woman and you work harder than you thought humanly possible for the thing that you love to do, your artistry is going to blossom, and everything that you believe in is going to be magnified, multiplied, and exaggerated. And then you will become absolutely fearless. So I believe that empowered people can make a change, and they can face any adversity, whether it's political, social, or economical, whether you're just trying to handle your business and take it off the ground. So when you feel strong, you are. So take care of yourself.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. And I love that you're so passionate about it too. I think that artists who are entrepreneurs, which I see in my world, they bring the passion. And I think any entrepreneur needs to bring the passion to what they believe in, to have the energy and the strength, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love it. So I'd like to thank so much Princess Lockerooo for being on today. And for those of you that are attending our event tomorrow evening, 6 o'clock at Luminary, the Art of Entrepreneurship, you'll be able to meet Princess Lockerooo in person. And the other thing is I have a conference every year called Brand You. This year is Brand You 2020. And it's for female entrepreneurs. And it's a full day of empowering female entrepreneurs and bringing mentors and coaches to the table to help them build their thought leadership skills, their branding skills and social media. And I actually, I'm right now coordinating the schedule, and I want to put an entertainment piece into it. So maybe your schedule line will be able to do a little whacking demonstration at Brand.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I think it would be awesome, especially if it's the right stage. So I'm working on that. I'm working hard to make that happen.
That's wonderful.
So anyways, I want to thank you again for your time. I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person, as are everyone in my audience. This has been very fun and educational, and I'm sure all the artists that are entrepreneurs appreciate what you have to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Okay. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.